Hey everyone!
We weren't just talking about throwing a giant water balloon at Mars.
You can't tell them that.
But they have to know what wasn't happening.
Welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club, a show about eating cereal.
Apparently.
You should be eating... I don't know if I've ever clarified this. The reason it's called Super Breakfast Friends Club is because you sit down and you watch cartoons while you eat your cereal. So if you aren't eating cereal when you listen to this podcast, that's a problem. That's also why we release on Saturday mornings. Hello! Are you all consuming this podcast correctly?
It's like when they give you instructions on how to serve beer. But nobody actually has the time for that. You just dump it into a glass, you get way too much foam, and then you complain.
This beer should be enjoyed on the summit of Mount Everest. With a goat.
A goat?
Yeah, you shouldn't consume the goat. It should just be present.
Well, yeah, there's a goat that lives up there. He's the wise old sage of the mountain.
That's true. Every mountain has one. For Mount Everest, it happens to be a goat.
I thought they were all goats.
No, some of them are different. For example, on Ben Nevis, it's an angry homeless man.
Oh, I guess I'd be angry too if I lived in some of the most inhospitable conditions.
He's forced to live there. It's nobody's choice to be the wise old sage of the mountain.
It's his celestial punishment.
Yeah.
His Sisyphean curse, so even when he dies, he comes back as the angry homeless man.
The wise old sage of Mount Fuji is that butt-faced yokai.
What about the one with an eyeball for a butthole?
That's a good one too. Maybe it's that one. Maybe I got it mixed up.
You're gonna have to climb up there and see.
Oh, I am. Should we go? With the proceeds from this podcast, let's go to Mount Fuji.
With the $12 from your mother.
Hey, it's at least 24 by this point.
I like how the yokai is not one of the actual mountain yokai.
No, of course not. I was either going to say that one or I was going to say dog with a human face. You know it. Come
That's
on.
your go-to.
Those are my favorites.
It's always the dog with the human face.
They're the best ones.
Yeah, we're gonna have to write a crime novel where the culprit is a dog with a human face.
And there's like no Japanese or yokai stuff up to that point.
It takes place in Los Angeles.
I'm Mike.
And I'm a dog with a human face.
And let's play the opening, shall we?
It is a legend no one will forget. Everyone thought King Koopa had left the Mushroom Kingdom. And then his doom ship attacked. King Koopa was back with the greatest danger ever known, his Koopa kids. Using their new superpowers, the Super Mario Brothers rescued Princess Toadstool and beat back the evil Koopa family. I'll get those plumbers!
I guess the opening for this one was just a bunch of exposition.
It's weird, isn't it?
I didn't care for it.
No, it's really short. It's like weirdly sinister. It's completely incongruent with the tone of the show itself.
I don't know, the show was a little sinister.
But not in the same way.
That's true. It's not an airship darkening the skies.
Yeah, I kind of want to see the show that this opening is for, because it's not this show.
I want to see the gritty 90s reboot of Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah, it still looks the same. It still has the same visual style, but it's like a serious war show.
But it's like that serious Sonic show.
No, because that has a different look. Oh, we still need to watch that.
I don't want to.
Because that has the look of a serious show.
That's true.
Whereas this still just looks like a regular Mario thing, but it's like, everyone thought that King Koopa had left. Anyway, Super Mario Bros. 3. This show is called The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, which is a title that has confused me since childhood.
It's not a great title.
How can Super Mario Bros. 3, the video game, go on adventures?
I don't know.
Video game.
I was very confused because the opening starts off letting us know that this is within a book somehow, but it's a show based on what we have found within a storybook, and it's also parallel to the real world. It's weird.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So, Super Mario Bros. 3, the game that this show draws mostly from, came out in 1988 in Japan. It was made by Nintendo, in case you didn't know.
In case you've just come here from the year 20.
It was released on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And it was made by EAD, who we've talked about a bunch already, because they made Mario, Star Fox, F-Zero, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, Nintendogs, Splatoon, among others.
I thought you were going to say Among Us. I was like, that doesn't sound correct.
Yes, secretly though.
I bet they wish they did, all the money that raked in.
Oh yeah. Have Nintendo made an Among Us yet? I guess Nintendo Land has some Among Us elements to it. But what it's missing is the debate portion of the game. Where everyone gets together and tries to figure out who the betrayer is. Among Us is fun.
I've never actually played it.
I know, I think I bought it for you, right?
I do own it, yes.
Yeah.
And it was not by my hand that I am once again given Among Us.
No, I played it once and I had a really good time. And then I think we were in a group chat with some other people talking about it while we were playing something else. And then I just bought it for you because it was like $3. But then I've never played it again since then. I should get people together and play it because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, do people still play Among Us?
Not to the same scale, but I think it's got to still have players. We could gather a group, I think. The only problem is that I know Steve doesn't like it.
Oh. Well, there goes half of our friends.
Steve is not super comfortable with the part where you have to lie, I think.
Oh.
They're not good at it, and I think they always lose when they have to lie about whether it was them or not.
That's adorable.
Anyway.
That's where we have Joe to balance out the Steve.
Yeah, Joe is also a bad liar, but he does it with confidence. So, the game was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, who we've talked about several times in the past.
I've never heard of Shigeru Miyamoto. That's a strange and unknown person.
Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of Pokemon and Sonic the Hedgehog?
Mm-hmm. Who's he?
I don't know, actually. And I didn't make any notes.
You just assumed that everybody knew. What a fool.
If you want to hear us talk about Miyamoto, I'm pretty sure we will have done it on the Mario Super Show episode and the F-Zero episode. I'm not going to do it anymore, beyond spreading some lies about what he made. And it was co-designed by Takashi Tezuka, who is longtime Nintendo staff. He wrote the story for the first two Zelda games. And apparently he co-created Yoshi.
Oh, cool. Who doesn't love Yoshi?
Everybody loves Yoshi. Yoshi's a lot less prominent these days than he was in the 90s, isn't he?
I mean, if I had a beautiful island in the middle of the sea to chill on, I wouldn't be doing video games either.
Yeah, it's true. He still shows up for the spin-offs, but he's no... I remember when Mario Kart 64 came out, people were fighting over who got to play as Yoshi.
Oh yeah, Yoshi was my main.
Yeah, me too. But I don't really use him anymore, and I don't really see him used anymore either.
No, because now they let me be the Bowsers.
You could be Bowser in 64.
That's true, but he was too heavy. Now I can at least balance him out by being Dry Bowser.
That's true.
I'm not good as a heavy driver.
I usually use Roy as my heavy driver.
I just don't drive heavy. I can't do it.
Don't
I
drive
can't
heavy, kids.
steer.
So, Super Mario Bros. 3 wasn't released in the US until 1990, 2 years after it came out in Japan, which is a long time in video games.
It is.
I looked into why this was, and it was delayed both because of a chip shortage at the time, and also to avoid interfering with the release of Super Mario Bros. 2, the US version, which also came out in 1988.
Oh, they didn't want to saturate the market with Mario.
Yeah, I guess they thought that if they released Mario 2 and 3 in the same year, nobody would buy 2.
That's a good point.
I would definitely say that Mario 2 is like the worst of that original trilogy.
I don't care for Mario 2.
In Japan, that one's known as Mario USA. I think we talked about it on the Super Show episode, but
I think we did, yeah.
it wasn't originally released as a Mario game in Japan. Because Japan's Mario 2 was almost identical to Mario 1. It had all like the same graphics and everything, just new level designs. But the delay in releasing Mario 2 in the US allowed the game to appear in the movie The Wizard in 1989.
What exciting news!
Yeah, and it drove the movie's success, apparently. I've never seen The Wizard. I've heard about it a million times. I've never actually seen it, but apparently...
I've seen The Wiz.
That's probably better. I mean, from what I could see, The Wizard was not a good movie. And it was a successful movie, mostly because kids wanted to go and see The Wizard because it had a new Mario game in it.
Oh yeah, Fred Savage in his heyday.
We should watch it sometime, just so we can say we have.
Yeah.
But
Then
yeah,
they can't make fun of us anymore.
I saw it described in a review as an hour and a half ad for Super Mario Bros. 3.
This says it's an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, well, there you go then. Sorry for the misinformation I'm spreading.
I need that extra 10 minutes of Mario.
In between the original Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 3, Nintendo hired Yoichi Kotabe, a former Toei animator, and he refined the Mario character designs into the ones that we're familiar with now, especially Bowser.
Good. This Bowser's way better.
Yes, I love current Bowser. Original Bowser, I mean, the reason that Koopa in this show looks so different than Bowser is because he didn't really have a solid design before Super Mario Bros. 3. But the King Koopa in the Super Mario Bros. 3 cartoon has not been updated to match the new game design.
He sure hasn't.
They are still using the Super Show design.
That's okay. This is a different Bowser. I don't recognize this as Bowser.
No, me neither. He's a very different character. That kind of goes for all of the Koopas in this show, though.
Well, yeah, they have different names.
I know. I'll get into that. I did some research on that. But yeah, this show was produced by Dick, who've done a lot of the shows that we've looked at so far. They were pretty much all the video game shows of the 90s, I think.
They had a monopoly.
Yeah. It was animated by Seiyoung Animation, a South Korean studio, who also worked on the Super Show, the Zelda cartoon, Captain N, and apparently they made Widget the World Watcher. Have you ever heard of Widget the World Watcher?
No.
I grew up watching it. It was, I guess it was an educational show. I don't think it was good. I think it was bad.
It doesn't sound like it's good.
It was in a kind of a similar vein to Denver the Last Dinosaur, but with an alien instead of a dinosaur.
And a less catchy theme song.
A much less catchy theme song, yes.
Danger and evil were everywhere. Nature thought we didn't care. Who can help the world survive? Who can keep our dream alive? Alive! Alive!
This has given me some weird, like, Captain Planet Wild Thornberry's vibes.
I forgot that he shapeshifted into animals.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
I'm very confused. They're in space now.
I'm looking at this and I'm having memories. I guess I remember the show more than I thought. It looks better than I expected it to. The animation's not bad.
There he goes. He turns into a gorilla.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen the design for him before, but I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I think you do. I think this intro tells you everything you need to know.
That's not what I mean.
So, that was us getting sidetracked by Widget the World Watcher. Welcome, everybody. Welcome
I'm
back.
sorry, us. I just listened to 5 minutes of silence because you went someplace far
It
away.
wasn't 5 minutes. It was like 20 seconds. Come on.
It was way longer than 20 seconds.
I am going to look at the timestamps and see which of us is correct.
I have time blindness.
Me too! That's... We're both... I was doing something and you weren't, so it feels like a million years to you and 2 seconds to me. Okay. This show has 1 season with 26 episodes. A lot of people consider this show to just be a second season of the Super Show. But
It looks very similar.
It does look very similar. It's used a lot of the same designs, especially for the characters. But it's got a different format. The live action parts have been dropped. And most of the voice actors have been replaced, which is something I never knew before I was researching this.
Yeah, Mario didn't quite sound the same.
No. I think only Koopa and Toad have been retained from the Super Show.
Oh, thank God we still have Toad.
Who else could do that voice? I actually liked Toad a lot in the Super Show, but he's not really present in this one from what we watched.
Good.
You didn't like him?
I don't like Toad.
You remember what an angry little shit he was in the Super Show? I thought it was hilarious.
I kind of remember, but that was months ago.
It was
You gotta
months
give me
ago.
some slack here.
No, I know. But literally all I remember of Toad in the Super Show is him screaming at Birdo and just being furious the entire time, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I just remember him getting stolen by Birdo, the actual bird.
the lizard that moves like a bird.
Hmm.
This episode we watched is the first episode, as always, and it first aired on September 8th, 1990 on NBC. And it originally aired as Captain N and the Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3.
Oh, where's Captain N?
What they did was... So this show has 2 segments. And when they originally aired it, they sandwiched a full Captain N episode in between those 2 segments.
That sounds unbearable.
What a weird thing to do. I've never heard of that before.
No, just put another show in your show?
Yeah, just put an entire different show in the ad break. Man, this ad break's been more than half an hour.
And they haven't tried to sell me a single thing.
Well, I guess Captain N is basically trying to sell you Nintendo games.
I guess, if you can even distinguish what Nintendo game it is.
They tell you. They're very clear.
They are, but it sends very confusing messages because when I tell my parents, when I'm screaming at them that I want the game that it's promised me, it doesn't look the same.
No, I know. Yeah, Metroid was not a game about fighting off a horde of meatball apes.
I was very disappointed.
Take it back, Nintendo. Add more meatball apes. If there are no meatball apes in Metroid Prime 4, I am gonna lose my mind.
I've already lost my mind. Give me Meatball Ape.
Actually, I think I would lose my mind even more if they did put Meatball Ape in Metroid Prime 4.
I'm going to learn how to mod, and I'm going to put Meatball Ape in everything.
Metroid or not.
That's right. The stink of meatball ape will carry across the galaxy.
What's your favorite Pokemon, Billy? I really like Meatball Ape.
Its types are meatball and ape.
And they're strong against every other type.
Well, we haven't really started.
No, not really. So, in the opening, we're told that King Koopa was defeated in between the shows, right? This is never
Oh, were we?
seen. Yeah, because they're like, everyone thought King Koopa had left the Mushroom Kingdom. But that's never shown. And I
No.
looked into it. I looked up how the Super Show ended. And the final episode is just a RoboCop parody.
What a way to end your show.
Yeah. According to the writer's Bible of this show, which I managed to track down some excerpts of, it says that the Mario Brothers chased him into the banishment zone and then sealed the entrance with 10,000 bricks.
I'm sorry, where is the banishment zone? And how many warp whistles do you need to get to go there?
I have no idea. This is information that's presented only to the writers of the show and nobody else.
Including the audience.
Especially the audience. Anyway, he's back now, apparently, and he's brung his kids.
Listen, we quickly learned that Koopa has some technology that easily breaks the world.
Yeah?
All I'm saying is I'm not surprised. If they're gonna seal him away with his entire airship full of magic guns.
Yeah, I do love they call it the Doom Ship in this. I don't think it was ever called the Doom Ship in the game. But
No, it wasn't that much of an ill portent.
I do love that they've taken this airship from the game and made it such a prominent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Though it seems like he only has one. In the game, he's got like a fleet of them. It seems like he only has one in the show.
Well, yeah, he just got back from the banishment zone.
That's true.
He's gotta build up his armada.
Yeah. He's got to go to a used Doom Ship dealer and pick up some bargains.
Yeah, and they're trying to rip him off. The market's terrible right now.
Now imagine how much gas he'd need for that.
I feel like it doesn't run on gas, but he just throws a bunch of Goombas into a furnace.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with like a bunch of Goombas on a treadmill, but a furnace is...
I mean, I guess that would be a little bit more Mario friendly, but that's why I didn't get the job as a head writer for the Mario series.
Yeah, when you were in utero.
Listen, my resume was spotless. They had no reason to deny me.
Oh wait, no, you were born. You were born when this show aired. Barely. Yeah. You had been born for 1 month when this show aired. Actually, you'd been born for like 2 weeks when this show aired.
And you're saying that I could not have written a better episode?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not making any judgments here. So it's time. We're here now. The first episode is beginning.
We've done it. They've raised the curtain, and we're looking at the overworld of Giantland.
Yeah. And this episode is called Sneaky Lying Cheating Giant Ninja Koopas.
And right off the bat, you know that it's a Ninja Turtles reference.
Yes, Turtles were at the height of their popularity at the time. And obviously, they thought, what better way to open this show for the first time ever than by leeching off of a currently more popular series?
Than by reminding the children of the better show they could be watching.
This episode is written by Bruce and Reed Shelley, who we've talked about several times.
I knew it. I knew I remembered those names.
Yep.
Okay,
possibly siblings, possibly lovers, we don't know.
Did they write Pac-Man?
Did they? No, they didn't. They didn't write Pac-Man.
Okay, because There's something about that. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Okay. No, they wrote the Super Mario Brothers Super Show and they wrote The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
So that's where we've talked about them before. They might have written 4 Pac-Man, but they didn't write the Pac-Man that we watched, at least.
Okay. Because there are some similarities.
Okay. Well, you'll have to point them out as we come to them because they went over my head.
I don't know how.
Oh, apparently... Oh, they wrote for Ninja Turtles. I missed this when I was doing the research.
Oh.
So this was them writing what they know, I guess. They also wrote for the Zelda cartoon.
Zelda cartoon which hangs over our head.
I didn't do a lot of research for them for this episode because we've talked about them several times before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the title is shown to us over actual game footage of Super Mario Bros. 3 World 4. Which I know you already mentioned. It shows us the Giant Land map.
Yeah, I actually liked that part.
Me too. You can tell that it's like been recorded off a screen with a camera as well. This is back before we had screen capture technology.
And it was too difficult to animate separately.
If they animated it separately though, it wouldn't have looked as good, you know. It wouldn't have brought us that feeling of I know that because they would have got it wrong.
That's true.
So the episode opens with the Koopa kids just all having a free-for-all fight.
Yeah, we don't really know what's going on.
No. The Koopalings, I looked them up, and they were originally designed after the members of the development team of Super Mario Bros. 3, apparently.
Okay.
They weren't given names in the Japanese version. They're just there. So the names were given to them by the US localization team.
And
then,
that's why they're terrible.
And no, not these names. I'm talking about the actual
Okay.
names in the game.
Okay.
So like Larry, Lemmy, Iggy, those were all given to them by the US localizers. And then those names were adopted in the Japanese version for Super Mario World, which is the first time they had names in Japan.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the Koopalings don't have those names here.
No, they don't.
From what I can tell, nobody knows exactly why, but it seems that the reason is that while the show was in development, they hadn't been named yet. And then, so this show had to come up with its own names for them, and then Nintendo of America separately came up with their own names for them, and there was no cross-communication there.
But luckily, we decided to keep the good ones.
Yes, in this show, I made a note of what all of the names are because I'm gonna forget. So throughout this episode, I will probably be referring to them a lot by their game names rather than their show names because that's what I'm more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
At least when I can tell which of them they are supposed to be.
Yes.
But Larry is called Cheatsy. Iggy and Lemmy have been renamed Hip and Hop and kind of like combined into one character. We won't be seeing them today, but they're in there. Roy has become Bully. Morton has become Big Mouth.
Ugh.
Wendy is Cootie Pie. And Ludwig is Kooky.
Awful.
Yeah, they're pretty bad names. Also, Morton or Big Mouth, I think that he's the smallest one in this show, or at least he's the smallest of the ones that appear in this episode. And that's weird because he's the largest in the games.
Yeah, he's the big boy.
Yeah. There are some Goombas here as well. I made note of that because there were no Goombas in the Super Show ever. So I was
That's
happy to see
true.
some Goombas here.
Just laboring in the background.
Yeah, just hanging out. I think one of them pulls a curtain cord to open a curtain.
I want that job. I want to be that Goomba.
So, who has lines here? Koopa is played by Harvey Atkin, same guy who played him in the Super Show, so we talked about him there. All I remember is that he also played Sam in the Sam and Max cartoon. Big Mouth, which is the Morton one, is played by Gordon Maston. He did a lot of very, 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 very small roles. Aside from this, he seems to be best known for playing unnamed characters in The Day After Tomorrow and The Santa Claus, the Tim Allen
The
movie.
Santa Claus.
Yep. Just some guy. He's just some guy in it.
Oh, I love that. What a weird filmography.
Yeah. Bully, which is the one that is Roy in the games, is played by Dan Hennessy, who he did have some good roles. I wrote down a few. He was Chief Quimby in Inspector Gadget. He was Braveheart Lion in Care Bears. And he played the Commissioner in the Sam and Max cartoon.
Neat.
Those were some roles I was familiar with. Yeah, Koopa wants his kids to go capture Prince Hugo the Huge,
Yeah, a guy who apparently exists.
a giant mushroom man.
He's the ruler of Giant Land.
He looks out of place, doesn't he? He doesn't look like a Mario
Extremely out
character.
of place. Like, you can tell that they're trying to make him a toad, but he's all lanky and weird.
Yeah, his mushroom head is the wrong shape.
Yeah.
He looks like a general fantasy character rather
For
than a
some
Super
mushroom
Mario.
race.
Yeah, yeah. You might run across him in like, God, I don't know. If they made like a D&D 80s cartoon, he might appear in an episode.
Where you have to go to the forest to speak to the Fae or something.
I bet there was an 80s Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. I just don't know about it.
I would be surprised if there wasn't, but
Yeah.
also maybe surprised if there was, considering how much Satan is inside of Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s.
Well, they'd leave that part out. I would imagine they would have put one into production and it would have lasted like one season and then the Satanic Panic would have started and they would have quietly cancelled it.
So it looks like there's a 1983 Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
I knew it. Does that count? Does that count for us?
I don't think tabletop is video games.
No. Oh well. That's fine. We'll watch it in our own time.
We'll watch this one for fun. It got 3 seasons.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's only 27 episodes, but
3 seasons of 6 episodes each. It's like a British show. So we're told that Prince Hugo the Huge is the new ruler of Giant Land, right?
yeah.
I have a note here about Big Mouth's vocal tick.
What is his vocal tick?
He just, every now and then in the middle of the sentence, he just kind of goes... And it's so weird because there's nothing in the animation to support it. Like, he doesn't shake his head or anything when he's doing it.
It was the voice actor trying to make sense of a stupid name like that.
It's the voice actor trying to make his character unique. And then the animators were just like, I'm not drawing that.
That's way too much work. Do you know how many smear frames would go into that?
I did think that Big Mouth hammering home that Hugo is a giant was funny.
That's Prince Hugo the Huge, the new ruler of Giant Land. They say he's the biggest, toughest, bravest prince ever. Even for a giant, he's a giant.
It was certainly something. I couldn't tell if it was funny or annoying. It could be both.
It can be both. Sometimes annoying is funny.
So I'm very confused by Koopa's plan.
Yes. Remind me of what it was again.
The entire plan is for the Koopa kids to go and kidnap Prince Hugo the Huge so that Koopa can turn him into a miniature poodle.
Yeah, do you think Koopa just wants a pet?
I don't know. Maybe he just thinks that's the most demeaning thing you could turn someone into.
This is game stuff. Because in the game, every time you get to a new kingdom, you go and you meet the king and he's been turned into some kind of animal.
That's a good point.
So I think this was them...
Attempting to make sense of it.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't really do much in the way of making sense of it. But they used it at least.
True.
They put it in.
That is, it's an interesting thing that I never really considered.
Yeah.
Shigeru Miyamoto, why?
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I remember because I mostly played the Super Mario All-Stars version of Mario 3. And I think in that version, one of the kings was turned into Donkey Kong Jr., if I remember rightly.
Is that how we got Donkey Kong Jr.?
Or maybe that's what Donkey Kong Jr. always was, and the reason we don't see him anymore is because Mario rescued him and turned him back into the king.
I want that game.
So yes, Koopa, he tells Bully, Big Mouth, Cheatsy, and Kooky to step forward for his plan. But instead of them stepping forward, all the others step back.
Hmm.
The Mario Wiki lists this as an animation error, but it's very clearly a joke.
Yeah.
Wikis, man.
I don't understand why and how they attract the strangest editors.
Yeah. It's wild. You know I love reading wikis.
I know that about you.
It's so funny. I'll never correct any of the mistakes because I'm there for the mistakes.
We're not here for accuracy. We're here for the laughs.
Yeah. So I didn't make any note of this, but yes, Koopa turns Bully, Big Mouth, Cheatsy, and Kooky into giant ninja Koopas. He has a magic wand specifically for turning his children into giant ninjas.
I was very confused by the magic wands.
Me
And
too.
the fact that they have such weirdly specific effects.
I have a whole note about this later, so we'll get to it. Because I didn't really think of it too much at this point, but later on in the episode, it becomes impossible not to think about it. Meanwhile, Mario, Luigi, Princess... I wanted to say Princess Peach, but she's not called that here, is she?
No, she's still Toadstool.
Princess Toadstool and Toad are already in Giant Land. She doesn't become known as Peach to us until Mario 64, which is wild to think about now.
Yeah, when she signs her name.
Yeah, she was always Peach in Japan.
I forgot that part.
But they did an Eggman on Peach. Except to this day, people complain about him being called Eggman, even though they still use the name Robotnik routinely.
That is very confusing to me, how Eggman/Robotnik is the one character that I feel like everybody still whines about the name.
I know, that's what I was going to say. I've never heard anybody complain that they stopped calling Peach Princess Toadstool. I don't think they've called her Princess Toadstool since Mario 64, where they used both. I know I said Toadstool there.
Toadstool.
Yeah, they use both names in Mario 64 the way they do for Eggman Robotnik now. But they've never used Toadstool again, I don't think. And nobody complains.
My theory is that the people who get mad about Eggman Robotnik never played a game that released outside of the Mega Drive.
Maybe. So
Whereas
they don't
Mario-
actually know that they're still calling him Robotnik as well.
It's not that they don't know, it's that they don't care. Because it's like, oh, Sonic got bad after that. I don't recognize this Eggman. Meanwhile, everybody still plays Mario's, but people get real upset about Sonic the Hedgehog.
What's funny people just get upset about Sonic anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like
I'm
from what I've seen on the internet, I feel like 90% of being a Sonic fan is just being upset. And if there's nothing to be upset about, they will find something.
They will dig through the archives.
You know, if a game comes out and it's good, they'll start bitching about the shade of his eye color.
His arms are the wrong color, Mike.
It's all they know how to do at this point. Anyway.
It's part of the central defining traits of a Sonic fan.
It is. Yeah, I think that being angry is, if you're not there to complain about the games, what are you there for?
To enjoy it? No.
No, wanted to enjoy a game, I'd play Mario.
With Princess Peach.
Anyway, where were we?
They get a giant letter from Prince Hugo, so they are in Giant Land.
That's right. Apparently the Koopa Kids are the worst, least stealthy ninjas in history.
Well, they're giant.
Yeah, which is really confusing. Why make them ninjas if you're going to make them too big to hide?
Well, they've still managed to defeat Prince Hugo's royal army.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but I guess his royal army would probably also be giant, huh?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I was thinking of it like, oh, they just walked through and stepped on them probably, but I guess they're the same size as them now.
They did just kind of walk through and whack them with their batons, their ninja batons.
The nunchaku?
No.
I didn't pay attention to what weapons they had. I don't know if they were actually
I
using...
think one of them did have nunchaku, and one of them had, I forget the name of the big stick, the whacking stick.
The bow staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know these names because I know Ninja Turtle. He's my friend.
He teaches me about weaponry.
So here we got a whole bunch of characters all showing up at once, as is the norm for many of these shows.
Mm-hmm.
None of them introduced, but it's expected that we know who these characters are, and we do.
Well, I don't know who this bird is, and I don't like him.
I forgot the bird was there, and I didn't even take the bird in until like way later in the episode when they let him out of the cage, and then I was like,
I took him in because I was like, why does this bird exist?
Yeah. He exists purely for them to have a cage to put Peach in. That's the only reason he's there. But it doesn't come up until later.
It doesn't, but the set design is so minimalistic, and they put focus on this stupid bird saying stupid things that nobody cares about. So I'm like, what? They're going to do something with this god-awful bird, and I'm going to have to look at it for longer.
What is it with the first episode of Mario cartoons and involving a bird in some way?
It's in the series Bible. It's necessary.
I don't think there's been a single bird in the games up to this point. Anyway, the cast here. We have Mario is now played by Walker Boone, who is mostly known as Mario in this and the Mario World cartoon. Most of his other roles were just single episode appearances in things. Luigi is played by Tony Rosato, who is best known as a cast member on SCTV, but he didn't appear in Maniac Mansion, I checked.
Oh no.
He was also on SNL. He played Whitley on Night Heat. I don't really know what Night Heat is, but that's
Neither
something
do I.
he's well known for. And he was the voice of Nemesis in Resident Evil 3.
Incredible.
Yeah, that one took me by surprise. Princess Toadstool is played by Tracy Moore, who is known for playing Emma Frost in the 1992 X-Men show. She also played Cher Bear in Care Bears. She was the geek in the Sam and Max cartoon. The geek was basically their tech person. Anytime they needed anything, she would provide them with it. And she played Warbeak in Redwall.
Warbeak?
Yeah, do you know who Warbeak was?
No, I just love the name.
Okay.
I never watched the Redwall cartoon. I read the books as a kid.
Yeah.
I don't remember much.
I've seen like 5 episodes of the cartoon. I liked it.
I was obsessed with the series. They're good books.
Yeah, I want to read them. They were making a Netflix show, but I think it got cancelled.
That's sad.
It is sad. I
It's
was looking
okay.
forward to it.
Children, go read the books, because knowledge is power.
Yeah, you should always read the books. They're usually better. I think the reason the books are usually better is because the books let you imagine things the way you think is good.
Yeah. But In some ways, that was confusing because I didn't know what a lot of those words were.
That means you get to imagine whatever you want.
That's true.
Toad is played by John Stocker, the same voice as in the Super Show. But he's barely present, right? He's just there in these 2 episodes.
You know, now you've got me thinking, and now I'm mad he's not angry all the time.
He just says things every now and then, but he doesn't add anything to the plot. It feels like he's here out of obligation. And we also have Prince Hugo, who is played by Greg Morton, the voice director for the show.
Interesting.
He also was the voice director for several other Dick shows, including Captain N. He is an ex-college football player and a comedian. I wasn't convinced this was the same guy, because the only place I could find on the internet that connects football player and comedian Greg Morton with Super Mario Brothers 3 Greg Morton was the Mario Wiki. And I was like, did the Mario Wiki just find 2 people with the same name and assume it's the same guy?
Most likely. However,
however,
it's now my headcanon.
Well, no, I think it is the same guy.
What?
I couldn't find anywhere else that mentions his career at Deke, but I did find a tweet from his Twitter account about co-star Tony Rosato dying. He passed away a couple years ago. And he tweeted about it, specifically in reference to the Super Mario Bros. 3 show.
And this is the confirmed football man.
Yes. This is definitely football man and comedian Greg Morton. I triple checked. So I think it is him.
This man sounds fascinating.
It sounds like he's led quite a life.
Yes.
From what I read about him, it seems that he's best known for a routine called Obama Man, where he sings a song about Obama bailing companies out to the tune of Candyman from Willy Wonka.
Who can fix the mortgage? General Motors too. A bail a check for me and a bail a check for you, Obama man. Yes, Obama man can. Obama man can, 'cause he mixes it with hope and makes the world taste good.
Oh, I'm familiar with Candyman because I just watched the new movie the other night.
Which new? Like a new movie, or?
The new Candyman that came out like a year or two ago.
I thought you meant Willy Wonka.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, you should know better. You should know if I'm watching a movie, it's probably horror.
You like Willy Wonka.
I did like the original Gene Wilder movie, but then they did that other one.
Oh, we don't talk about that one. Yeah, I didn't like that one.
It was creepy, and not the correct kind.
No, because the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka is creepy. But it's a different creepy. It's a better creepy.
Yeah. This man is kind of a creep, not this entire world feels wrong.
Yeah, it's Tim Burton for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I used to think I liked Tim Burton, but then as I got older, I realized that I like Nightmare Before Christmas in spite of Tim Burton. I like Henry Selick. That's who I like. Most of what I liked about the Tim Burton things I liked were attributed to Henry Selick.
Gotcha.
Anyway, Mario and Luigi go away. Why did they leave again? I can't even remember.
They went to go find some super leaves to turn into Tanuki men.
That's right. Yeah, they specifically went for that. So they come out of a really tall pipe, and Luigi, I guess, is like scared to come down. So Mario says he'll catch him, which he doesn't do.
No, Luigi just kind of lands on him.
And then Mario blames the sun being in his eyes, which the sun takes offense to. And attacks
Initially, as I was watching this scene, I was like, what is the point of this? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And then the angry sun showed up and everything was in alignment. I loved it. It was the stupidest thing ever.
It was really funny. Yeah, if I didn't know the angry sun was in the game, I think I would have found this even funnier. Because it feels like, I mean, it makes sense because we know about the angry sun. We know that's a villain or an enemy in Super Mario Brothers 3. But if I had no idea and the sun just takes offense and starts attacking them out of nowhere, I would have lost my mind. It's really funny. But yeah, they turn into Raccoon, Mario, and Luigi, and that fools the sun. He doesn't recognize them anymore because they have ears and a tail. You can see, they tell him that they went behind a cloud, and he goes off behind the cloud. And you can see where the background didn't end up exactly where the animators thought it was going to be.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, the sun like disappears behind an edge of the cloud, like a hard edge.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good like 3 inches below where the actual hard edge of that cloud is. A lot of, again, like in the Super Show, they're using real sound effects from the game.
Mm-hmm. Real music.
Yeah, real music. Very nice. I like that.
I like that Ouija explains to us that taking damage will make them lose their powers.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny. You don't really think about it in the game. It just feels natural, but it does... I don't know. When you see it in animation like this, it does feel strange.
It feels very strange because when you animate it, you can come up with any number of reasons why they could lose their powers.
Yeah. I guess they wanted it to feel like the game. In some ways, it feels almost like it's trying to teach kids how to play the game.
Yeah, that's definitely the feeling I got.
Prince Hugo's vocal delivery is hilarious. Because the Koopas are storming the castle now, and they're grabbing him, and he's just, like, weakly protesting.
Leave them alone!
So there's this whole fight scene that's happening. I didn't make that many notes about this, so if you have a lot to say about it, go ahead.
I didn't really. Mario and Luigi show up and harass the Koopas. One of them, I don't know which because their names are different and I already don't know their names, blows and makes a tornado, and Mario gets stuck in it. It throws him over next to a very strange looking piranha plant and it chomps him and he loses his powers.
Yeah, isn't that piranha plant weird?
It's very strange. It's just a green plant.
Most of the enemies that we see in this show are like decently accurately drawn. But this one, yeah, it's fully green. It doesn't have any spots. It doesn't have the big white lips that we're used to seeing on a piranha plant.
It has eyeballs.
It has eyes, yeah, that's the weirdest part. And it's got these big square yellow teeth.
It was very strange.
It's funny because Super Mario Brothers 3, this does kind of look like an early Mario Brothers 1 piranha plant because they were green originally in the sprites. Mm-hmm. But by this point, Mario Brothers 3, I think, is the one where the piranha plants got their current look.
I think you're right.
Because I remember them coming up out the pipes and spitting fireballs at me, and they looked like they look now, basically.
Yeah.
So it's so weird that this one looks like this. Unrecognizable.
It took me a second to even realize what it was.
Yeah. It's just because it's a plant that bit him.
Yeah. So Mario loses his powers, and
yes,
then Luigi
I wrote down what Mario said there because I thought it was funny. He says,
what did he say?
Oh, I'm super no more. Just plain old Mario.
So Luigi is flying around, still harassing these Koopas, and one of them literally just touches him, and he loses his powers.
He just like pinches him, right?
Yeah, he just like reaches his giant finger down and boop. And Luigi just falls out of the sky.
Which I guess is game accurate, but doesn't convey very well to animation. But yes, this is where the parrot comes into play. They take the parrot out of the cage and they put Luigi, Princess, and Toad in instead. Yeah, I hadn't made any notes about the parrot up until this point because this is the first time he does anything, and I didn't even take him in. But you were right. The set design of this area is literally just stone walls, stone floor, parrot.
Yep.
That's the entire design of this room. And I think
They really wanted us to see the parrot.
yeah, I think it's got an open ceiling as well. I don't think there's any roof on it.
You are correct.
Weird. Weird room.
Strange choices made.
Yeah, Hugo's a super minimalist in his interior design. I need
Yes.
a big stone room for my parrot. I'm gonna keep him in a cage in there. I want the sky to be visible so he can always see what he can't have.
But the parrot doesn't want the sky. The parrot is so upset that they took his cage.
Yeah, he misses his Big Bird poster.
Yeah, and he's got some weird graphic novels about birds.
No, it was called Worms from Outer Space.
Oh.
I thought it was so weird because they made up some like parody comic book that a bird would read, but then they just had a Big Bird poster. That's just a real
Maybe
thing.
it was literally just a big bird. Like, he's a big bird.
I guess you're right. I just thought it was funny that they came up with a parody comic book name, but they didn't also come up with like maybe a band name that a bird would listen to as well for the poster. I don't know. That's what I would have done.
It is a little strange, but I guess they figured Grover wasn't going to get litigious if they put Big Bird in there.
No, well, Grover, he can't even get a soup order right. How's he going to sue someone?
I could see it happening. I could see a Sesame Street court episode.
Who is the most litigious Muppet, do you think? Well, I guess if we're including all Muppets, it's definitely Miss Piggy or
yeah.
Sam Eagle.
I was going to say Sam Eagle, but if we're talking just Sesame Street, I would probably say Grover.
You think?
Yeah, Elmo's off doing his own thing,
Elmo,
living his
yeah.
best life.
Elmo doesn't know what's going on, so...
No, Elmo's just happy, doing his thing,
See-
fighting with Rocco.
Part of me wants to say Bert, but I think Bert is more the kind who would just complain rather than ever actually litigating.
Yeah,
If somebody wronged him, he would just grumble about it, and he would maybe have rumblings about suing them, but I don't think he'd ever actually do it.
no, and then Ernie would show up and sing a song with his rubber ducky, and everything would be better.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Grover's day job when he's not being a superhero is that he's a lawyer.
Maybe. I mean, when he's not being a superhero and he's not serving soup. See, there's a part of me that wants to say that one guy that Grover's always serving soup to. I don't know his name. Like, maybe he would be the most litigious one, but if he was litigious, Grover would have been sued years ago.
Grover would be out on the streets.
Anyway.
Wait. I think we're overlooking the most obvious answer.
Oh, yeah?
Oscar the Grouch.
No, see, I did think about Oscar because he's always the first Muppet I think of when I'm thinking Sesame Street. But the thing about Oscar is he's super grouchy. I don't think he has the cash to sue anyone.
I mean, he's the lawyer, though.
Oh, you think?
Mm-hmm.
Would you? Yeah, you would. I was gonna say, would you hire a lawyer that's in a trash can? Of course you would.
Duh! Where do you think I got my last one?
Anyway, so Mario rides the parrot away, which is quite a sentence.
Yeah, he convinces him that he's gonna get his cage back, and that's all it takes to get on this parrot's good side.
Yeah. I was very distracted by the fact that the parrot's colors change almost shot to shot.
That is not the kind of shoddy animation we expect from Super Mario Bros. 3, the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even the most glaring coloring error in this episode, but we'll get to that.
Yep.
So the Koopas take Hugo and the captives to Koopa. I guess they just drag Hugo by his arms, huh? Because they're still holding him by his arms in the next shot, I think.
I guess. I didn't even take it in.
Yeah, I didn't think about it until right now. So the parrot and Kooky, who is Ludwig in their games, are played by Michael Stark. He is known for playing Guildenstern in Onimusha Warlords. He played Sammy Sailor, Mr. Straw, and Mr. Wobbly Man in Noddy.
Mr. Wobbly Man.
I don't know who that is, but I want to.
Me too.
And he did additional voices in the Rupert the Bear cartoons of the 90s, which I vaguely remember.
I don't.
No, they're extremely British. I'm surprised he was in them. I don't think that Cheatsy ever says anything through this whole episode. I
Good.
think he's just there. But that Cheatsy is the one who is Larry in the games. I barely recognize him as Larry because they've given him these weird eyelids that Larry doesn't have.
Yeah, Larry has an unblinking stare.
Yeah. But he's played by James Rankin, who played... The first name that I wrote down is the one that stood out to me the most. He played Dingleberry in Atomic Betsy.
Oh, incredible!
He's also had roles in Paw Patrol, Deus Ex, and the Ace Ventura cartoon.
Interesting.
And what was most notable for me is his puppeteer credits.
Go on.
He's credited as a puppeteer in Scary Movie 3, Noddy,
Okay.
and the Dresden Files. I don't know what the Dresden Files is, but apparently he was a puppeteer on it.
Interesting.
He's also credited as craft service and first aid in Snow Dogs.
Did he just show up and bring
I
sandwiches?
guess so. He showed up and brought sandwiches and maybe put a band-aid on somebody. And they were like, give him a credit.
He deserves it.
So yeah, we don't often see such a wild range of different skills.
Yeah, this cast has been surprising.
Yeah. So Hugo gets turned into a poodle with the poodle wand.
As one does.
And then he goes and gets the other wand, or another wand, to turn his kids back to normal. He's got 4 different wands,
Yes.
all on the wall here. One of them is very specifically the miniature poodle wand. And another is very specifically the giant ninja wand.
I do think that it's funny that even though they specifically mention they're turning Hugo into a miniature poodle, he's still a giant miniature poodle.
Yeah. Because the wand doesn't do that.
It doesn't shrink them, it
Yeah.
just turns them into poodles.
Yeah, that's a different wand. He's being economical with his wands here.
He's got a whole wand armory.
I want to know what the other 2 do.
I know. They've got to be stupid.
Because, yeah, so... Well, anyway. Before we get to the real wand shenanigans, Koopa's about to change his kids back to normal, but they want to stay giant ninjas for now. They were terrified of being giant ninjas in the beginning.
But now they've had fun because all they've done is smash things and kidnap people.
Yeah. And they start singing for He's a Jolly Bad Koopa for no reason.
He's a jolly bad Koopa. He's a jolly bad Koopa.
It goes on for a long time.
I really hate the song for He's a Jolly Good Fella. I hate it, Mel. Like, who does that?
I don't know.
Anytime anybody starts a round of that song, I leave the room.
How often does that occur in your life?
More than I'd like. It's when you're with a very specific type of person, usually in their 50s.
Okay.
Or I guess more like 60s or 70s now. You know, there's a specific generation where they just think that launching into a rendition of this whenever somebody's done something good is just like, you know, the done thing. and it's supposed to make people feel good or something. I don't know, it's just annoying. It's like
I wonder
memes
if
for old
that's-
people.
Yeah, I wonder if that's more prevalent across the pond. I don't know that that's ever occurred even anywhere near me.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a British thing. God, I hope
And
it
that's why it's in
dies.
this American cartoon.
Yeah, well. No, I hate it. Nobody should sing it. If you're the kind of person who ever either sings or joins in singing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, I can't with you. I just can't.
Just stop, please.
Yeah, please. I feel the same way, but less intensely about Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday at least makes sense.
Don't know. It makes sense, but I don't want it.
No, me neither. I don't like it when people sing it at me, and I don't like being forced to be part of the choir.
Have I ever told you about what happened at TGI Fridays?
I don't think so.
We were ordering dessert and there was like a birthday dessert. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I wanted it. It was like a birthday cake ice cream or something.
Hmm.
So I ordered it and the waitress said, "Oh, is it your birthday?" And I said, "What happens if it is?" And then at that exact moment, across the restaurant, staff came out of the kitchen with one singing happy birthday to someone at a different table. And I just watched that happening, and then I just looked back at the waitress and said, "It's not my birthday."
Yeah, there is nothing more horrible that I can think of than having restaurant staff accost you with happy birthday.
Oh, I've been made to do it. I've been made to be that restaurant staff.
No.
Yeah, I hated it. And the whole time I was like, "You don't want this, I don't want this." But my
There's
boss
a
is
pained
making
expression
me do
on everybody's face.
Yeah.
Everyone just shares the same disgusted look.
it. Because
Except there's one
sometimes,
person clapping like an idiot.
yeah, of course, the person who brought the cake. Because that's what will happen in a lot of restaurants. Someone will come in for a birthday meal and someone will secretly sneak in a cake and they'll bring it to you and like, "Can you hide this and bring it out when we're done with the meal?" You're like, "Well, I guess we have to since you've asked." And that's always the one person who's like excited about the birthday thing coming out, and it's never their birthday.
No. But you know that they wish so badly that it were. Then their birthday rolls around and nobody wants to do it.
No.
Because it's horrible and nobody should.
Yep, exactly. So Mario tries to open the cage,
Oh, yeah.
but he can't. He can't get it open.
He's too weak and pathetic.
But he's got a plan to trick Koopa. He switches the tops of the wands. Just the tops of them.
That's how magic works.
I was so confused. So, does this mean that all of the power of the wand is in the stick and the top part is just decorative?
I guess that's what that would imply, yeah. Usually you'd think it would be the opposite.
Mario, he runs around to the front of Koopa's throne and he calls him a Bowser Koopa, like that's an insult.
You're not taking over any land, you Bowser Koopa!
It is. How dare you?
Like, is that... and that's his name. This is the first time they've ever used Bowser in the cartoon. But
And it's an insult.
yeah, I'm not sure if they're actually treating it as his name here. It seems like they think it's an insult.
How dare you use my government name?
My court-ordered name.
My dead name.
Oh, I didn't realize.
But it wouldn't be, because he later goes on to be exclusively Bowser.
Well, not in this show. Not in this universe.
No. Canonically.
So Mario gets himself captured as well. And Luigi momentarily wears his clothes in the next shot as a tribute to his fallen brother. Were you as taken aback by that moment as I was?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny how you don't really think about it, but when you see Luigi in Mario's colors, it's like, ugh.
It just feels wrong.
Yeah, it's like viscerally something kicks in your brain and you're like, oh, what? Something's wrong here. What is it? Oh. But yeah, that's my favorite. The part where Luigi is
Mario.
cosplaying Mario for a moment.
For a split second before they realize what they've done.
Yep. So the princess does some terrible acting to convince Bowser to turn Mario into a poodle.
Oh, this is horrible! Koopa's so mean! I bet he's gonna turn Mario into a miniature poodle, too!
Mm-hmm.
And when Bowser takes the hint and decides to turn Mario into a poodle, Luigi, angrily jabs her in the ribs.
Yeah.
Which to me suggests that he wasn't in on the plan or didn't understand the plan.
Uh-huh.
But then in the next scene, he makes clear that he absolutely was in on the plan.
Yeah,
Because-
he knows exactly what's happening because he's narrating it to us.
Yeah, he whispers to the princess that she did a good job.
It worked, Princess. Koopa doesn't realize he's been tricked.
So why did you just jab her in the ribs?
My guess is that he was also playing along.
Maybe.
Like, Princess, how dare you put that idea in Bowser Koopa's head?
But if that's the case, his acting was 20 million times better than the princess's was.
Because you were bamboozled.
I was bamboozled. I was not bamboozled by the princess. But Luigi got me.
My question is, instead of doing this whole song and dance, why couldn't Mario turn himself into a giant Ninja Koopa?
That's a good question. Do you think
This
only...
relies on a lot of variables outside his control.
Maybe only a Koopa can use the wands.
Maybe.
That's the only way it makes sense, but that's not explained to us. I didn't even think about it, but you're right. Why didn't he just grab the wand and zap himself? I want to say maybe he didn't know which one it was, but you had to have known which one it was for the plan to work.
Yeah.
So anyway, Koopa accidentally turns Mario into a giant ninja. And this is where I realized that my theory about the wands was wrong. The power isn't all in the sticks. Because Koopa grabs the green one, which he knows is the giant ninja one.
I think that was a coloring error.
Well, my theory now is that maybe Koopa is colorblind. And he only knows the wands by their position on the rack.
I'm starting to think that maybe the colorists were colorblind because Luigi was Mario and red-green colorblind is the most common one.
That's true. And now that you mention it, during this next scene, the wand does change color multiple times between red and green. Shot for shot. Some shots it's green and in some it's red.
It's very confusing. I started to gaslight myself.
I went through and I kept track of it all. Because yes, so here's what I wrote down from what I could figure about how the wands work, because I was very confused about them, and overthinking things is what we do on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So green is consistently the wand to turn something giant and ninja. Red is the miniature poodle wand, but it's also the turn back to normal wand. For its turning back to normal function works on both giant ninjas and poodles.
So it's just kind of a nullify magic.
It's nullify. I think if you're under the effects of magic, it nullifies the magic. If you're not under the effects of magic, it turns you into a miniature poodle.
What a sentence.
Somebody make that a D&D item.
Poodle wand / nullify magic wand.
Because if you're a giant ninja, it does not turn you into a poodle. It turns you back to normal. But if you're normal, you will become a miniature poodle.
So there's no way to turn into a giant ninja poodle.
No, that's impossible. Unless you were already giant, like Prince Hugo. He's naturally giant. He wasn't under the effects of magic, so. This is where a song happens.
You're a head-banded, sweat-banded, underhanded ninja man. A tough-talking, fast-walking, Koopa-stalking ninja man.
It's awful. It's very bad.
It's really, really bad, yep. In fact, that's all I've written about it, I think.
Yep. Mine says an original song plays. It stinks.
Yes, this is... So we talked about how Captain N and the Super Show used a lot of licensed songs.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I think they're phasing that out. Some episodes of Mario 3 use licensed songs, but some use original songs like this one. They do always still have a musical number, though, from what I could tell.
For some reason.
For some reason. Yeah, a fight happens, if you can call it that. There was a lot going on. I was confused. I didn't make a lot of notes about it. But
Because there was a lot going on and simultaneously nothing happening.
yes, the Koopas get turned back to normal and run away. Luigi turns Hugo back to normal in the confusion. I think I missed how Luigi and the princess got out of the cage. I guess Toad is in the cage as well, but...
I did miss it, and I had to rewind, because as soon as Mario gets turned into a giant ninja, he goes over and just kind of opens the cage, and somehow that destroys the door.
Oh, okay. Toad must have been there, but I feel like he is a background element in this whole scene, because I can't even remember seeing him.
That's a lot of animating. We don't need Toad.
Yeah. I know they put him in the cage originally, but I don't remember seeing him in any of the shots of Luigi and the princess in the cage.
I can't remember. He was probably there, but
He has to
when
have
he's
been,
not
right?
screaming angrily, he just doesn't stand out.
Yeah. He must have been there. At least in theory.
His spirit was there.
So, Koopa tries to leap into space, but he hits a block in the sky and falls down a pipe instead.
That was the weirdest scene ever, because he tries to poochie out of there.
Yeah. He's just like, well, guess my plan failed. Gotta go.
Whoop! Like literally just flies propelled by nothing up into the sky.
Yeah. And if that block wasn't there that he accidentally hit, how high would he have gone? What was his plan?
He had to go back to space.
I blasted off to the moon.
I started thinking maybe he meant to hit the block or something. It's the only thing that makes sense.
No, he definitely didn't. He definitely didn't, because I had that same thought. But if you watch, he's like, he hits the block and then he falls in pain into the pipe and he screams as he's going.
Bye!
That could have still been part of his plan.
I guess, but it sure didn't seem like it. But anyway, the parrot's mad because his cage is busted now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he uses the wand on himself. So
He
why
sure
couldn't
does.
Mario? Yeah, he turns himself into a giant ninja. He doesn't get much bigger, though.
Yeah, because he's already a giant parrot.
But I assumed that he would get proportionally as much bigger as Mario and the Koopas did. But he only
We
gets...
assume a lot of things of this cartoon.
That's true. He only gets a tiny bit bigger, and then he chases Mario into the sunset. And that's the end.
It's the end. We're only halfway through this goddamn trash fire.
I enjoyed this second one more, but that's not because it's better.
I don't know. I don't know that I did. I don't know that I enjoyed any of my time here.
No, you went into the Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3. I will say, this is something I probably should have said up front more than here, but I have a lot of memories of this show from not when it first aired. I was probably too young to take it in when it first aired, but over the course of the early 90s, during the summer, when I was staying at my uncle's place, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show before. I have an uncle who was born the same year as me. So we used to hang out a lot. I used to go and stay with them in the summer with my grandparents and him. And on the mornings during the summer holidays from school, we would get up at like 6 a.m. and that's when this show was on. And we would watch an episode of this, which would be followed by an episode of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. And then we would either play the Super Nintendo or the Mega Drive, depending on which show had excited us more that day. But it wasn't just this show. They would have episodes of this show mixed in with episodes of Super Mario World. And I specifically remember that I always hoped it was a Super Mario World episode and not one of these ones.
But that whole vibe, that's the kind of energy we're trying to capture for this show.
Yeah.
And instead, it's this show.
But, now we have our second segment, Reptiles in the Rose Garden.
I guess I enjoyed this one marginally more because the premise was so bananas.
That's what I'm saying. This one's wilder. Like, give me a Ninja Turtles parody. I'm like, I'd rather watch Ninja Turtles. But give me some batshit wild stuff involving the President of the United States. That's something I can't get anywhere else.
Untrue. Well, yes and no. This whole time, it's just giving me Pac-Man flashbacks.
Oh, I see. This is what you meant.
Yeah.
I guess
There's
the
a very
first Pac-Man
similar
episode was
bit.
about the Yellow House, huh?
Yeah. Where they physically move the Yellow House and kidnap the president. And I was like, why is this a recurring theme in video game cartoons?
I guess it just has something to do with patriotism at the time, right? They were just like, we want to involve the president in our show.
I guess it's just a way to bring it back to the real world. Like, hey, kids, video games are right next door.
Did they need to?
No. We didn't need Captain N.
Well, this is the thing that confused me because in the Super Show, the Marios were trapped in the Mushroom Kingdom, right? And Mario specifically told us they were looking for the magic that would send them home.
Mm-hmm.
But here, Koopa just flies through a sky pipe to Washington, D.C.
Real easy. It's just right there.
It's just
I'm
right
surprised
there.
I haven't seen it.
I'm surprised that they didn't trip and fall into Brooklyn at any point during the Super Show.
Sometimes the warp pipe takes you underwater. Sometimes it puts you in Washington, D.C.
Just in the sky above the White House.
You'd think that would be a big security breach, but nobody seems to know.
No.
I don't understand. I don't understand because... So the whole premise of this episode is that Cootie Pie wants America for her birthday.
Yes, she's mad about her birthday gifts. None of them are good enough.
Yeah, so Koopa just floats his entire Doom ship into America.
So I didn't know what to expect from this episode. So when he says, what would you like for your birthday? And she says, America. I was like, what?
The fact that she knows it exists and that that's what she wants.
Yeah.
But the confusing part about this is that Luigi mentions that they cannot warn the White House.
I assumed, I thought about that too, because that seems to imply that they are still trapped in the Mushroom Kingdom. But I wonder if maybe he just meant because they had shackles on at the time.
Oh, maybe. Maybe I'm thinking too much about it.
I had to watch it a second time because I had the same thought you did. Because if you're not paying close attention to what's happening on the screen, you might think that he's implying that they still can't get back home, but Koopa is able to somehow.
I thought that they had to keep the Mushroom Kingdom secret.
Oh, well, that doesn't seem to be an issue anymore after what happens in this episode.
I guess not.
But yeah, this is where we're introduced to Cootie Pie, who is the show's equivalent of Wendy. Probably the most accurately handled of all the Koopalings.
Mm-hmm.
Although she's much more annoying here than she is in the game. I've never liked Wendy in the game either anyway, but...
She's very annoying, but at the same time, I thought she was well done in this.
Yeah, it was fine. She is played by Tabitha St. Germain, who is, I think, the most prolific voice actor in this entire show.
I could believe it. She did a good job.
Yeah, she's been working from the 80s right up till now, which is something you don't see often in a lot of the cast for these shows. A lot of the time, when it comes to voice actors for these shows, their roles tend to kind of peter out in the middle of the 90s. But she's still working. She's still working up till now. She's done just about anything that uses voice actors. She's done cartoons, movies, anime, video games, like anything. She played Rarity in the recent My Little Pony stuff, like over the last decade of My Little Pony stuff. She's done voices in like a million different Barbie projects. She played Sprite in the Zelda cartoon, which we'll get to eventually. She is Gotenks in Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay.
She also played Aunt Hilda in a horrific-looking 3D animated Sabrina show that I didn't know existed.
Oh, no.
And she does some voices in Thimbleweed Park, which I've been meaning to play for ages, but still haven't. But yeah, pretty good. Pretty solid career.
Good job.
I don't have any notes about the voices of Hip and Hop, because they didn't say anything in any of these episodes.
Good.
So here's my big takeaway, right, from the I Want America scene.
Mm-hmm.
Koopa says,
"But Sweetums, America's in the real world."
and I hate that.
Yeah, that was very confusing.
I always hate it. So we've talked before about how I don't like isekai stuff in general, usually.
Yes.
Because when you make an isekai thing, what you're doing is reminding me that your world isn't real. But this is doing it even more succinctly by specifically referring to the real world as the real world.
Right. Honey, you know we live in fake land.
Yeah. Honey, you know we're all made up. Don't have
Honey,
your...
you know this is a cartoon.
Yeah. It wouldn't bother me too much if, say, Kevin from Captain N referred to his homeworld as the real world. That wouldn't bother me as much, because he's from that world. But having your characters from your fake world refer to the other world as the real world tells me that even they know they're fake people.
Imagine us referring to any other world as the real world.
Yeah, imagine me imagine me coming to visit you in America and then being like, yeah, well, so on Thursday I'm going back to the real country. But then this is even one step further than that, because this is like you referring to it as the real country.
Yeah.
When are you going back to the real country?
It's been fun having you in fake America.
I mean, if there's any country that I would believe is fake, it would be America. But yeah, apparently also Koopa tells us that it's Cootie Pie's Sweet 16 in what felt like really unnecessary information.
Yeah.
We just
She
needed...
doesn't act like a teenager at all.
No. We don't need to be told her age. But just out of nowhere, he just exclaims,
"After all, you are turning Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I'm like, thanks for the exposition, Koopa.
We can already tell that she's a spoiled brat. It doesn't have to be a special birthday for him to spoil her more.
No. And I would not have guessed she was 16. I would have said maybe like 13.
Yeah, I was gonna guess 12.
Yeah. That makes more sense. The Marios and their friends are enjoying a peaceful day. They know it's Cootie Pie's birthday.
Yeah! Because whenever it's one of the Koopa kids' birthdays, he keeps them in the castle for some reason.
I love that for some reason everyone just has the schedule, you know? They've got it on their calendars. Mario wakes up in the morning, checks the calendar. Oh, it's Cootie Pie's birthday today.
To be fair, if every other day of the year was fire and brimstone with Bowser Koopa flying his Doom ship around, I probably would have it marked as a holiday on my calendar.
Let's not pretend that this Koopa is raining fire and brimstone down. He's turning people into poodles.
He also put the White House at the bottom of the sea.
Okay, so there's a spectrum, I guess. he flips wildly between I'm going to mildly inconvenience you and I'm going to drown your leader.
The spectrum of human behavior.
So they're talking about how peaceful it is, and then all of a sudden Koopa's airship appears. And I really loved the delivery of just...
Yeah, when King Koopa gives his kids a birthday party, they stay Koopa'd up in Koopa Castle all day.
Oh no! It's King Koopa's Doom Ship!
He really put some stank on it.
So funny. And then some ugly chain chomps rain from the sky.
Yeah.
Some ugly, tiny chain chomps.
They're just stuck to these blocks.
Yeah. Which I guess they were in the first one, but the blocks weren't mobile like this.
Right, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I don't understand how it captures them when later we see Princess Toadstool freely moving around with one attached to her dress.
Yeah. Because the point of the chain chomp in the original game is that the block isn't mobile, so the chain chomp can't leave it.
Mm-hmm.
But these blocks are fully mobile.
You could just drag them around.
Because, yeah, the chain chomps here function like shackles. They function like a ball and chain attached to the ankle, basically.
But it's not attached to anything.
Yeah. It's such a shame. Some people listening to this may know that Chain Chomp is unequivocally my favorite Mario enemy. Did I say that word right? It got tangled in my tongue. Unequivocally. It's my favorite. Chain Chomp's my favorite Mario enemy, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like these ones.
No. They're weird.
They're weird. I don't want one on my ankle. They also, don't they feel so ineffectual?
Yes, because they just move around with them. I honestly don't understand how we get from point A, a picnic in the park, to being stuck in jail just because there's a chain chomp attached to them.
Well, that's the law.
You get chomped, you go to jail.
Luigi's all sad about his home country. That's what he says, right? He words it as that.
He says,
Our poor home country. We can't even tell them the Koopas are coming.
See, I definitely, the first time I heard it, I definitely took that as they're still stuck in the Mushroom Kingdom and can't warn them. But I do think it was maybe just because they had some ineffectual chain chomps on their ankles.
yeah, I think you're right.
The Doom Ship gets to the White House, where the president is rocking out to some sick jams on his phone. The whole episode, we never see the president's face. The whole episode...
Yeah, we see him from behind on the phone.
Yeah, on the phone, but also like headbanging.
He's just agreeing.
He looked like he was dancing to me the entire time. I think he just called up like a radio station and was just listening to it on the phone.
They were having a giveaway and he was queuing up.
Yeah. He's listening to the hold music.
I really want to win that $100.
That would change our lives.
I really want to go to the Aerosmith concert. I need those tickets, Martha.
No, it's Barbara. It's Barbara Bush.
Okay.
It's a caricature of Barbara Bush. Yes, because although they've avoided showing us the president himself, presumably so that, it wouldn't be contradicted later when there was a new president, they haven't taken the same care when it comes to depicting the First Lady, who is just a funny caricature of Barbara Bush.
Well, the joke's on them, because Obama ruined everything.
There were a few other people between then and there. I think Clinton was next, and then Bush Jr.
But we can pretty easily tell it's not Obama in that chair.
That's true. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, any president who didn't have brown hair.
I know.
Yeah, the Sledge Brothers send the White House to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, this technology seemed extremely overpowered.
I've already forgotten. I didn't write down exactly how they did it, but I've already forgotten how it went down.
They just had like a tractor beam on the Doom ship, and they moved the White House through the warp pipe and dropped it at the bottom of the sea.
Oh, okay. Well, they don't put it in the sea yet, right? They just dump it in the Mushroom Kingdom first. And
I guess that's true.
Koopa comes back to finish the job.
First, he had to install the new Empress of America in the power vacuum left by taking the president.
Yes, and she immediately holds a press conference outside what appears to be a still present White House. Thought that was funny. The White House is in the Mushroom Kingdom now, except when it's not.
Except when we need an establishing shot in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I wrote down her laws.
Me too, but go ahead.
She makes 3 laws. 1,
Every kid in America must give me their toy.
we've already established that she's 16, so that seems like a strange law.
Yeah.
2,
Any handsome boy who does not ask me for a date will be turned into a rock.
I loved the delivery of that line.
it was pretty
was
good.
very
It was pretty good. Also, I loved that Koopa just starts preemptively doing this during the conference.
There's just some handsome boys standing nearby, and he turns them into rocks.
Yeah. And 3,
All the gold in Fort Knox will be melted down to make me a lifetime supply of charm bracelets.
a lifetime supply of identical charm bracelets.
That one was so stupid, I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't take in what was on the charm bracelets except for the skulls. There were skulls on there.
To be fair, I would wear a Cootie Pie skull charm bracelet.
I know you would. Let's not pretend that these laws are benefiting anyone else, though. These are specifically her charm bracelets. She wouldn't let you have one.
She doesn't need to know.
She'll find out.
I'm going to stage a heist, and I'm going to steal a charm bracelet.
Oh my god, can we pull a Fort Knox heist to steal one of Cootie Pie's charm bracelets? Wait, it shows this already happening now that I think about it.
Yeah, and it's not happening within Fort Knox.
So do you think this is canon in the Mario Adventures of Mario 3 universe now, that from this point on, the gold in Fort Knox is stored in the form of charm bracelets?
Yes. In fact, I think it might be canon to real life.
They don't measure gold in bars anymore. They measure it in bracelets.
You know how Team Fortress has a weird economy of buds and Max's severed head and Bill's hats?
Yeah.
In real life, it's charm bracelets.
I love that. So from Koopa's dungeon, Mario can see the president through the window of the White House outside. He is still rocking out. He doesn't know that anything's happened. He's on the phone to Radio 185 DC. And then the princess decides to start a fight between the Boomerang brothers and the Fire brothers that are guarding them. And
yeah,
then-
Princess Toadstool is very manipulative in this cartoon.
Yeah, she is. I kind of love it.
Me too.
I mean, I love Peach anyway, but she doesn't have a lot of personality.
Mm-mm.
And I love this for her.
This is all of her years of charm school and political training being put to good use.
She's probably done this before when she's been locked in. I mean, she's been locked in Bowser's dungeon plenty of times.
Yeah.
She probably knows exactly how to play all the different politics of the different enemy factions against each other.
I'm beginning to think she spent more time in one of Bowser's dungeons than at the throne of the Mushroom Kingdom.
I think so. I mean, if we assume that no time is passing, like in most things, and every Mario game canonically happens in the same year.
Except right after the last one left off.
Yeah.
So everybody's fighting because Toadstool has manipulated them.
Yeah, the Boomerang Brothers are throwing boomerangs and the Fire Brothers are throwing fireballs, and she tells her friends to get into the crossfire before she does herself. She's like,
to make sure it's safe.
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna make sure we'll test this on Luigi first, and if it works.
The lesser of the Mario brothers.
Actually, I think that's what Toad is around for.
That's true. That's kind of his whole deal.
Yeah.
She uses him as a literal shield in Smash Brothers.
That's true. That's true. I love how the princess is like, everybody run! And then they just start hopping. They just do a series of short hops.
Quick, run for it!
Which is how I get around the most in Mario games. You're just leaping.
Yeah, no diving.
Yeah.
For me, it's a very consistent pattern of jump, dive, flip. Jump, dive, flip.
Uh-huh.
And I wish we could have seen that here. This is where Koopa shows up to dump the White House in the ocean.
That's right.
And as it sinks, Barbara Bush screams,
"Help! The president can't swim!"
And it was so funny.
It's very dumb.
I googled, can George Bush swim?
George Bush Sr.
Yes, of course. All I found was a Wall Street Journal article titled "Bush Can't Swim," but I don't think it was meant literally, and I also think it was talking about Bush Jr. So
Well, now we have to believe that this is canon.
I think it was implying a metaphor, but I'm taking that as evidence that George Bush Jr. can't swim. And if George Bush Jr. can't swim, I'm going to say that that's supporting evidence that his dad probably can't.
Wasn't George Bush Sr. in some branch of the military? I feel like those people can usually swim.
Depends which branch. You're thinking of the Navy.
That's right. Nobody else knows how to swim.
Yeah. Yeah, expecting someone in the Air Force to know how to swim is like expecting someone in the Navy to know how to fly. Anyway, this Barbara Bush caricature is played by the same actress as Princess Toadstool, which meant I didn't have to do any research.
Hell yeah.
This is where we get to listen to Do the Frog.
Hold on a second. George H.W. Bush served in the Navy.
Oh. Boo.
Meaning our flawless logic says that he can swim.
Okay. Well, whatever. Conflicting information, I'm going to say.
Right. So we get Do the Frog.
It's more easy than you think.
Do the frog.
You will look so green and slimy as you navigate the briny.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I thought this was even worse than the first
It was
song.
awful. It was terrible. I wanted it to end.
Anyway, Mario gets a frog suit. I said to you before, I completely missed how he got the frog suit.
Yeah. As far as I know, there was just a chest sitting on the beach.
Yeah, you
Mario opened it.
you sent me a screenshot of Mario holding the frog suit, and I was like, I don't remember this at all. I just remember him suddenly being a frog.
Yeah, that's kind of how the show usually goes, but this one time they show us that he gets it out of a chest.
Okay, yeah, he gets chased around by a bunch of bloopers and a Gelectro.
Oh.
I had to look up Gelectro because I completely forgot about it.
Me too.
It only appears in Super Mario Bros. 3, its remakes, and Mario Maker, and that's it. So
Interesting.
that's why I didn't remember it, I guess. But it's
This
a
is
jellyfish.
so true to the source material that we don't even know what it is.
I know, right? I'm like, this is being fast and loose with Mario canon, and meanwhile the show's like, you don't know about Gelectro?
Amateur.
So Mario swims to the White House and meets Barbara Bush. And I think this is the first time we get a full body shot of her.
Yeah.
And her over-detailed face and oversimplified body are so funny to look at. She looks like a freaking weeble.
She wobbles, but she doesn't fall down.
Bush never gets off the phone, so we never do see his face.
I think the funniest part about this whole thing is that the White House does not take on water until Barbara Bush opens the door for Mario to get in.
Yeah, and then it still doesn't take on much.
I mean, enough that he can drain it and turn the White House into the flood.
Yeah. Yeah, Mario does some plumbing, and the White House jets to the surface. Because that's something plumbers can do.
Yeah.
If you want to move your house, just call a plumber.
And Barbara Bush says that she's gonna recommend him to all of her friends. They can move their houses from the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, then Luigi shows up and tells us that Koopa's getting ready to attack London, Paris, and Brooklyn. 3 equally important locations.
It is to the Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I guess so, but why would Bowser choose Brooklyn alongside London
Maybe
and Paris?
he knows that that's where they came from.
Maybe he does. You were right.
He's doing that to hurt them.
But the only way he would know is if they had had a conversation about it, right?
They have to have conversations at some point, right? If everybody's getting together to go kart racing or to play soccer together,
Well,
there's downtime.
None of that had happened yet, though. I'm picturing that they just, while they were bricking up the banishment zone with those 1,000 bricks, they had a lot of time to chat.
While they're cask of Amontillado-ing Bowser in the banishment zone.
Well, they're bricking him up like Henry in the tunnel.
By the way, Bowser, we come from Brooklyn, New York.
Where did you grow up? Oh, on a beach by the ocean.
Desert land.
Dark world, you ever heard of it? It's real dark.
I'm actually from the area where the warp whistle takes you.
I haven't seen my parents in years. They blew a whistle and I couldn't get back. Couldn't find another whistle. We watched the Digimon movie. Caused chaos. We're coming up on my favorite part of the whole show.
Go on.
So Mario and Luigi sneak up onto the ship in Hammer Brothers disguises.
Yeah.
Luigi doesn't think it's going to work, but Mario says, don't worry, I'll be fine.
Mario thinks that these disguises are great. He says he doesn't even recognize Luigi.
Yeah. And then the first Hammer Brother they see casually says,
Putting on a little weight, aren't you, Mario?
And it was the funniest line in the entire show. And I have to give it full credit for this because it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
This isn't me
I had
laughing.
forgotten that scene, but it is good.
This isn't me laughing at something that was bad about the show. This is me laughing at a joke that they wrote as a joke and is genuinely funny.
Yes. They get that one credit.
Everything about it, the delivery. No, I got another credit for him because the Angry Sun thing made me genuinely laugh too, so.
All right, fine. They get 2 out of 5 giggles.
Oh, I didn't put up the gigglometer.
Yeah, we haven't really implemented the gigglometer until this point.
No, that's fine. I couldn't quite get it working. It keeps accidentally registering chuckles.
What's its take on guffaws?
I don't think it picks them up.
Huh.
Yeah.
We gotta calibrate this thing.
We do, yeah. Something's off.
Tune into the next episode when the gigglometer is in full effect.
As they're running away, or what is it they're doing? No, something's happening, and Luigi has this looping scream. Did you notice it?
No.
They use it twice. But they use it twice, but it's so specific.
No, by this point I was fully distracted by the fact that despite all of the hammers getting thrown at them, everything is unmanned and they take over the ship almost completely uncontested.
Yeah, 2 people taking over a ship, like the beginning of Pirates of the Caribbean.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and I didn't make a lot of notes about this part. My next note is about Mario accidentally putting the White House on top of the Washington Monument.
Yeah.
Which Barbara Bush is slightly put out by.
Mario! Oh, Mario! I hate to complain, Mario, but my husband can't run the country under these conditions.
Could be better, could be worse.
Yeah, it's just like, this isn't, teetering on top of this giant needle. I don't know.
At least it's in DC.
Yes. Which I think, as far as Mario's concerned, Mario only cares about Brooklyn. So I think for him, he's like, yeah, it's in DC. That's enough.
Yeah. We get the picture.
Yeah. Next, he drops the White House directly on Cootie Pie.
Mm-hmm. Like some kind of wicked witch.
We absolutely see her get crushed by it.
Yes, we do.
But in the next shot, she's not under it. She's just out and yelling at the Mario Brothers.
You're telling me that this cartoon does not have real-to-life physics?
It doesn't have real-to-life, like, object permanence. Like, I would have liked to have at least seen her squeeze out from underneath,
That would have been funny, yeah.
With a little cartoon pop sound. But she's just, like, not under there in the next shot. Just shaking her fist at the airship in the sky.
Something I do every day.
It's always so, whenever I see somebody shaking their fist in a cartoon, it makes me laugh. Because, like, who does that?
Yeah, that's not a thing that ever existed until media perpetuated it.
Yeah, I've never seen someone shaking their fist at something in real life.
I have.
Oh, have you?
Not like in frustration, like as part of a bit, but still.
Yeah, if it's part of a bit, that's different. I always think of that Simpsons bit where the Springfield people are escaping with their lemon tree from Shelbyville. And the one Shelbyville guy standing in the road with his son shaking his fist and is like,
Oh, you lousy Springfielder, you shake harder, boy!
So Mario offers Cootie Pie a lift home, but she throws a tantrum instead. And she says,
I'll tell my daddy on you.
and then Mario says,
Don't forget to tell him about this!
and just shoots her with the beam. Just shoots her with the tractor beam and just like tosses her through the portal. Yeah. It's so funny. It's just the sudden escalation between like, do you want to ride home, to don't forget to tell him about this.
To forcefully moving her with a laser beam.
It's not even just that. It's the It's like he was it was like he finally snapped in that moment. It was like, oh, fuck you then. Don't forget to tell him about this. So goddamn good. And then Mario crashes the Doom ship into the castle and leaves.
He knows how to fly it. He doesn't know how to land it.
Oh god, the sudden, like, I don't give a fuck attitude Mario has at the end here, where he's just like, okay, we've fixed everything. Now I'm gonna toss his daughter through a wormhole and crash his ship into his house.
I want to play that Mario.
Yeah. I want to play the game that ends... I want just, like, a normal open world, like, realistic game that you get that's perfectly normal up until the very end, and then the ending is just that you steal the bad guy's car and crash it into his house.
Yeah. And wreck up his laser beam.
And wreck up his laser beam, of course. I think more games and shows and things in general should just end with the hero, you know, just wrecking up all of the bad guys' shit and then just being like, all right, see ya.
No hard feelings.
Anyway, Cootie Pie blames Koopa for everything, and he finally snaps too.
He finally stands up to her and just spends the rest of the episode yelling, barking chores at her.
He starts parenting so hard the Marios can hear it from clear across the country.
He starts parenting so hard that the castle is falling apart.
That's true. The end.
The end.
We did it.
Finally.
We defeated this show.
We defeated Bowser and we crashed his Doom ship into his castle.
We did. You know, I did enjoy this. It was bad.
It wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched.
No, we've definitely covered worse shows. I would put this maybe near or at the bottom if we were rating them by theme songs.
Because it didn't have a theme song.
No. It just had a narrator. But in terms of actual show, I'm trying to think what else we've watched now. But I don't think this was the worst.
It's certainly not. Would
No.
you, as a full-grown adult, continue to watch this show?
I would definitely get tired after maybe like 3 episodes, but I'd watch a couple more.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
It's one of those shows where you kind of know that every episode is gonna be the same. So it's not a binge watch show, you know?
No.
It's something you'd need to come back to maybe once a week. Maybe the original release schedule was perfect for it.
Once a week on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. But that's what it was designed for, so
Yeah.
maybe it's doing its job perfectly. But yeah, I would watch more. I think I would choose the Super Show over this, though. I liked this more in terms of this feeling more like a Mario thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the Super Show more because the live action parts were so goofy.
They were real dumb.
And the Super Show also had a way better theme song.
True. And the ending song, delicious.
Yes, absolutely. So, I don't think this show really had any legacy that we can think of. I guess it would have come close to naming the Koopalings, except that Nintendo were coming up with their own names separately, and those are the ones that stuck around.
It was too close to the source material that it didn't actually invent anything.
Yeah. It continued on into the Super Mario World cartoon, which I think the entire cast from this one continued on into, and all the character designs carried on. They didn't rename the Koopalings for the Mario World cartoon, even though they had their actual English names for a decent amount of time by that point.
Oh no.
So, But yeah, other than the fact that this lived on in reruns for many, many years, I don't think it really had any effect. I don't think it influenced any Mario products that followed it. Sorry, Super Mario Brothers 3 writing team.
For a hot second, I thought you were gonna say, "Sorry, Super Breakfast Friends Club." It's like, what did we do?
We didn't do anything. No, why would we apologize to ourselves?
I do it a lot.
Do you? You don't owe yourself an apology.
No. I'm not really the apologizing type.
I know that about you.
I mean, like, Kevin is a notorious apologizer. He apologizes for accidentally blinking too many times. I'm not that kind of person.
No.
I just turn it into shame and anger.
Well, you shouldn't do that either.
Don't tell me about my unhealthy coping mechanisms. I'm aware of them.
I know. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
This trip back to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah. You can find us at patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub or coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub if you would like to support our show so that we can make better episodes and more episodes and spin-off episodes and
Noodles.
you can find us on Twitter at sbreakfastfc, and by us I mean me, but I'll relay things to Mel through it.
I don't go to that hell site because I have too much hate inside me.
Already. But if you want to find me specifically, I'm on Twitter as well, at SkullPirateMike, which is where you can find me most places, except the places where I'm not. One of the places where I am is Twitch. Find me on Twitch. I dare you.
Find me. Help me.
Bye.
I was gonna say, this is the start of our ARG hidden within a video game cartoon podcast.
We've got to like hide coordinates in an episode.
Yeah, we gotta put some backmasking, some messy audio for someone to clean up.
Yep. I already said bye, right? Bye.
You did, but I talked over it, as is my want.
That's okay, I can always clip you out.
Don't. Oh no, what's falling? The Empire.